Sports Medical Center. Good evening, listeners. This evening we are going to discuss a very interesting and important and also a very relevant topic to sports. And we have a very experienced personality at our studios with over 20 years experience in the sports ministry and a master of the University of London on sports and exercise medicine. It's Dr. Seevali Jayawickrama, the Sri Lanka Anti-Doping Agency Director General. Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening.
Let me start off with the first question at you. How does a player get sanctions on doping?
Amitha, it's better if I can just give you a brief about how this started as such. This is doping is not a topic which has come out recently. It has been there since 1920 in the world circuit, where when athletes, when they perform, they try to take certain performance enhancing, take the initiative from other athletes and try to make it to the victory, especially in Olympic level sports. So, but in 1960s, with one cyclist who at the finishing end, he collapsed and he died. And they did a post-mortem to see, and he has taken an overdose of stimulants. And then the Cycling Federation and FIFA, the Football Federation International, banned stimulants for their players. So since then, International Olympic Council took over a stance to list certain drugs. These drugs were listed how? If we think so, these are all athletes who have found these drugs, not the scientists or whoever. They somehow try to see which type of drug will help them to perform. And that is how this doping thing has come into action. But now the sport has become more professional and there's a lot of money coming into it. And we see that a lot of athletes tend to see what type of performance enhancing drugs that they can take and how they can try to escape from this. So this is something that we need to address to our athletes, school children, parents, coaches or the support staff about the menace that it can cause for the sport. Because if it goes like this, we won't be able to find any sportsmen being clean to take part in competition.
Doctor, when did it start in Sri Lanka exactly?
In Sri Lanka, the testing actually started in 1991 when we had the first South Asian Games at Sugatadasa Stadium in 1991. But since then, we have been doing testing, and it was done at the Institute of Sports Medicine of Ministry of Sports.
Doctor, how does a player or an athlete know about the prohibited substances?
A good question, Amitha. These prohibited substances are introduced, the banned substance list is being introduced by World Anti-Doping Agency in October of a particular year, which will come into effect from 1st January of the following year up till 31st December. So it will be valid from 1st January to 31st December. But it will be in the web of World Anti-Doping Agency and in our web also, the local one, Sri Lanka Anti-Doping Agency web, from October 1st.
So that was the initial medical center with Dr. Seevali Jayawickrama. We will end up for today and we will continue next Saturday. Good evening, Doctor. So we continue the discussion on anti-doping with Dr. Seevali Jayawickrama. Doctor, let me throw the first question at you. Taking supplements by school children and your advice to parents on this matter, Doctor.
Yes, this is a good question that you are asking, because we find, especially in rugby in schools, that they tend to take more supplements. But we need to address these things first, whether the food intake is sufficient or not. Then whether they are hydrated properly. Third one, whether they get a proper sleep, proper rest, proper training. These are things that we have to concentrate, and especially the parents are concerned, they have to be more vigilant regarding these matters are concerned, because sometimes parents don't know whether these children are taking supplements or not. Sometimes these supplements might be needed for certain players. So that has to be advised by a competent doctor, a sports doctor or sports nutritionist. But most of these parents, what they do is they hear from somebody and they try to use the same substance to their children. But sometimes we find in these supplements, whatever which is being said in the label, right, will not be there. There might be these prohibited substances also. So when you are being addressed as that you have taken any prohibited substance, right, knowingly or unknowingly, the strict liability rule falls into that. What does it mean? Is that whatever a substances, willingly or unwillingly, has entered the body, the player has to take the responsibility. The player might be a minor. Still, the same rule is being adopted by the World Anti-Doping Agency. We are, as Sri Lanka Anti-Doping Agency is a stakeholder of World Anti-Doping Agency, we have to abide to their rules and we have to sanction according to that. So that's why I'm telling the parents, because this is your child, you have to take care. We don't know what the substances that they are taking, and we normally advise parents or any school to check whatever the supplement that they take, whether it has any prohibited substance or not. And then you can use. But you have to check it according to the batch that they produce. Sometimes the same brand will be there, but the batch number will be different, but still we advise to check the batch number, whether it contains any substance or not, and then you can use.
Doctor, just going on those supplements, what are the side effects that can be there for the children?
Side effects will be immense. If it is protein supplement, if they take it more than the required amount, according to the body weight in kilograms, if they take, right, the body cannot, utilize it, and it has to be excreted. So there's a lot of water being excreted with the protein metabolites. And what will be the end result? The person might get dehydration, renal stones can occur, right? And sometimes renal failure might be the last which can occur. So these are things that we have to think about the protein point of view. There are other substances. Creatine is another substance. It's scientifically it has proved that the amount, because it is produced in the body, but it is not enough for a person who is performing in sports. So we can take it from outside, but there is a amount that it can be taken. So it is better if you can get a sports doctor or sports nutritionist to give the exact amount which is needed. So it always calculated through your body weight and whatever the energy that is being used in sports. And you have to compensate that energy loss through normal food. Nutrients means carbohydrates, proteins, fats, minerals and vitamins. All these are needed with water. But nowadays, especially, it's sorry to say, certain gym instructors, coaches, they want only protein to be used. That is wrong. The main energy is produced, the main fuel is carbohydrates. So carbohydrates, ours is an agricultural country, we have so many carbs, type of food that we can take. Not only starch, we can take a lot of things like manioc, sweet potato, potatoes, then jackfruit, then breadfruit, all that can be used in different days even. So I am advising the parents, right, try to prepare this type of food and give your children who are taking part in sports.
So that was a very interesting discussion with Dr. Seevali Jayawickrama, Director General of the Sri Lanka Anti-Doping Agency. Good advice. We've had the discussion for about 3 weeks. So thank you, Doctor, and we welcome you soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sports Medical Center. Good evening. We continue our discussion with Dr. Seevali Jayawickrama. We closed last time, Doctor, with the banned substance list coming out in October. Doctor, could you tell us, Maria Sharapova, the famous tennis player, what was the problem that she had?
Yes, Sharapova was using a drug which was not banned on the previous year. So she continued. And when she went for the Australian Open, and she had to give a sample of urine to be tested, and she found a drug that she has been using the previous year has been banned in that particular year. So that's something that she came out and had a press conference also, and she said that it's her fault because the International Tennis Federation had already sent the prohibited list to her, but she did not check it, whether what are the drugs that they have introduced which are banned for that particular year. So unfortunately, the drug that she was using for some endurance perspective, it was banned on the following year. So she got sanction for that, using that banned substance.
Let's get on to our own, very own Susantika Jayasinghe. Marianne Jones taking the banned substance and subsequently being identified. Your thoughts on that, Doctor?
Yeah, that's quite a different story here, because she was tested 167 times and never found any prohibited substance in her urine and blood samples. But what happened, her former husband came out and said that, she spent a lot of money to get a new drug introduced, which the laboratories which are accredited by the World Anti-Doping Agency won't be able to detect it. So she has spent a lot of money for that, and they introduced a designer hormone for her, and she took part in the Sydney Olympics in year 2000, where Susantika also ran, and she got the gold medal. Then they found that she has spent a lot of money to a research laboratory called Balco, and there was a federal court case, and she was found guilty, and since then she was banned, and she has to return her medals back and to the International Olympic Committee. That's how Susantika, who had a bronze, was able to get a silver medal.
So that's the story behind, as Dr. Seevali just mentioned. So let's get back onto the coaches' roles and responsibilities on anti-doping, Doctor.
Yeah, the coaches' responsibilities should be that they have to understand and comply with the anti-doping rules. So anti-doping rules are concerned for the sanctions. There are few that we all should know. That is, presence of prohibited substances in an athlete's urine sample. That is one. And the use or attempted use of any drug which is being banned is also can be taken as a rule violation. Refusing to submit the sample. Sometimes when we go and try to notify the athlete that we have selected you to give a urine sample, they run away, right? So if they do so, we take it as that he has violated anti-doping rules. So that is one way of, getting sanctions. The other one is the failure to file athletes' whereabouts. Now, for example, there are two sports in Sri Lanka currently, that is cricket and weightlifting. We are in the international level. So these players who have reached that international level are being registered under the testing pool of the International Federation. For example, International Cricket Council, ICC, our national players have been registered, even the weightlifters. Now what happens here is that they have to tell their whereabouts from 6 o'clock onwards to 6 p.m., early morning to 6 p.m., they have to mention every hour where they will be. Like they will be training somewhere, they might be at home, they might be in the gym, likewise. So, and we are being informed to go and test, or sometimes they send their representatives directly to those where they are, because they have the list where they are, so they can go and get the sample quite easily. So whereabouts, if they change, they have to inform them. Sometimes you might have to attend a wedding or a funeral or some other engagement. So if they have to do so, and if they have to change their previous, itinerary, they have to inform the International Federation, and they will know that, that he has changed his timing where he has been. So that is one, and we are also going to introduce very soon in Sri Lanka also. The other one is the tampering with any part of the substance. There had been instances in the past, not in Sri Lanka, but internationally. Then possession of prohibited substances. Then trafficking is also another way of, getting punishment. The administrator or attempting to administer prohibited substances to an athlete. It might be the doctor even. It might be a support staff, administrator maybe. Sometimes the federation maybe. Sometimes, if they get to know that they are the people who have been involved in giving these drugs, they also be punishable. And our act, Convention Against Doping in Sports in Sri Lanka, has gone beyond the World Anti-Doping Agency rules and regulations, where we can file a case, a criminal case in Colombo High Court, and if that person is found guilty, he might get a rigorous imprisonment, not more than 2 years, and a fine of 500,000 rupees to 1 million rupees. So that's how we are trying to, combat this doping issues like that. But these are things that people should know. And because we alone cannot do it alone. We need the support of the media, staff, all that, and to help in this, to combat.
So thank you, Doctor. So we will continue this discussion next Saturday on anti-doping with Dr. Seevali Jayawickrama. Thank you.
Thank you.